Hi, I'm Samson Reiny from AGU, and I'm live from Dallas, Texas at the Triennial Earth-Sun Summit, or TESS, a joint scientific meeting between AGU and the American Astronomical Society focused on heliophysics, the study of the sun and its influence on the solar system. Today is the big day, of course, a solar eclipse, specifically in Dallas, a total solar eclipse. And we're about an hour and 20-something minutes away from first contact, which is when the moon will start to block out the sun. And who better to pre-game this huge event than with scientists who are going to let us in on what is not only super cool about witnessing a solar eclipse, but also very important for the advancement of science. And without further ado, let me introduce you to our scientists. And I will say, if you have questions during this broadcast, please feel free to put them in the comment section wherever you're watching, and we'll do our best to get to them as they come in. All right, let's welcome our scientists. I have with me Nikki Viall from NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland. Welcome, Nikki.
Thanks for having us.
Great. And Mike Liemohn from the University of Michigan.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Well, thank you for being here. Let's get started with the basics, Nikki. What is a solar eclipse, and what are we going to experience here with a total solar eclipse in Dallas?
Yeah, so a solar eclipse is when the moon comes between us here on the Earth and blocks out the sun. And there is the partial phases of the eclipse where the moon partially blocks out the sun. But here in Dallas, if the clouds clear, what we're going to get to see is the moon totally block out the main body of the sun. And we'll get to see the corona, the solar atmosphere, peek around the outside of the moon.
Very cool. And I know we hear eclipse in various different iterations. Can you explain the difference between annular eclipse, which people have heard of as well, and this total solar eclipse?
Yeah, so the moon's orbit around the Earth is not perfectly circular. And so sometimes the moon is a little bit closer to the Earth or a little bit further away. When it's closer to the Earth, it's bigger in our sky, and so it blocks out more of the sun. When it's further away, it doesn't totally block out the sun, even when it comes right between us and the sun. And so that's an annular eclipse. And when the moon comes between us and the sun, you'll see a little ring of fire peek around the moon if you're watching it with your safe eclipse glasses.
Like you said, if you're watching it with your safe eclipse glasses, annular eclipse looks like a ring.
A ring of fire, yeah.
Very cool. Let's talk about personal experiences witnessing eclipses. In 1991, I was in Hawaii, born and raised, and it was 7:30 in the morning. I looked it up just last week, and I was probably very cranky to get up very early in the morning, but I was distinctly remember being in the abandoned parking lot next to my house and being amazed by what I saw. I was all of maybe 7 or 8 years old. What are your personal experiences with eclipses up until today?
As a small child, I saw a total eclipse, but as an adult, I've only seen partial eclipses. So I'm really looking forward to today.
Yeah, so I was doing NASA's live coverage of the 2017 eclipse in Oregon. So I got to see that one. That one was amazing, that total solar eclipse. And then this October, I also got to see the annular eclipse. And so that was pretty cool too. And I'm really hoping the clouds clear here and we get to see it totality here.
I think one of the reasons why we're doing the pre-eclipse is that so we let you both hopefully enjoy the actual eclipse. When you were hosting, did you actually have a moment to get to look up, or were you kind of focused on the stage?
Both.
Okay.
No, we definitely had some time to look at the eclipse, and it was pretty amazing, both for the annular eclipse and for the total solar eclipse.
Very cool. Well, I wanted to bring in something also cool. There is a new eclipse issue of EOS, which is AGU's Science News magazine, and it's all about eclipses. And there's a very special cover feature on the science of awe. So I really recommend you watching to go to eos.org and download your free free issue on total eclipses. And I wanted to point out this really cool quote by the researcher that was quoted in the cover article on awe. He describes awe as in the upper reaches of pleasure and on the boundary of fear, and the feeling of being in the presence of something vast that transcends your understanding of the world. I'm getting chills now because this is about to happen to us in our own special way. How are you feeling about the eclipse? I guess it's a mix of excited about the science, but just your like instinctive primal feeling about what you're about to view.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be amazing. I'm very excited about it. Awe is a perfect description of this. The thing that I'm excited about is when totality happens and the moon blocks out the main body of the sun and we get to see the corona peeking out around it with our own eyes. I'm so excited about that because that's the part of the sun that I study. Usually, though, through our satellites and through our computers. So to get to see it with my own eyes is going to be amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah, the sun drives all space weather that I like to study here around Earth. And again, yeah, seeing it with my own eyes and seeing right up close to the sun that only you can get in a total solar eclipse will be very exciting.
I'm very excited. So from awe to the actual science, and this is a big question, I know, Mike. How will observing this eclipse help advance major questions heliophysicists have right now?
So the sun is a major source of energy for our atmosphere. The visible light makes it all the way down here to the ground and warms the lower atmosphere. But also the ultraviolet light is absorbed in the middle atmosphere, which causes the ozone layer. And even higher energy solar sunlight ionizes the gas of the upper atmosphere. And that's the part that I like to study, the part of heliophysics that we're here. And so this is a time where that whole column of the atmosphere is has a significant decrease of energy input to it, and we get to see that change that lasts only on a localized region in both time and space.
Very cool. Well, you know, what's interesting is that we all know about the weather, right? In the troposphere, rainy, sunny, etc. There's a whole other space weather dynamic that's happening out in the ionosphere that a lot of people might not know about, but it's just equally interesting. So very exciting.
That's right. And so we're going to be studying the sun and the corona with NASA jets, which are going to be following the path of totality and extending it for a longer period of time because they get to follow that that shadow of the moon as it comes over the Earth. And also they'll be flying above the clouds, so they won't have to deal with this potential cloud cover that we're dealing with. And in the corona, that's the source of the space weather is the sun. And so the energy that builds up on the sun and has these magnetic explosions, that's the kind of thing that we're going to get to be watching in the corona.
Very cool. Speaking of eclipses, observing, we had one in 2017. We're having another one in 2024. What are some of the major differences between the two eclipses and how we're advancing ourselves by observing this one again?
So the this eclipse, the 2024 one, because the moon's a little bit closer to us than the 2017 one, just because of its the fact that the orbit isn't circular, it's going to last a little bit longer. So the totality in the center of the path is going to land over 4.5 minutes, whereas the 2017 one was only 2 minutes. More people live in the path of totality, so more people can just step outside and see the eclipse. And the sun is going through an activity maximum right now, which is means the magnetic solar cycle has more energy, and we're going to get to see that in the corona.
Very cool. Mike, in your area of study with the ionosphere, what's going on? What's new?
I think we also have much more sophisticated numerical models of the upper atmosphere and stronger computer power now. And so we'll be able to analyze the information we get from this and explore the physics in new ways.
Well, we talked about a little bit about the missions and observations that are happening. Do you want to tackle that in a little more detail, both of you? What experiments are going on, training their gaze on the eclipse?
Sure. Yeah. One of the things is on the ground, we have a number of instrumentation arrays that are focused on the upper atmosphere. One is GPS receivers. They're able to see the density of the ionized gas of the upper atmosphere in a very high spatial and temporal resolution. So we'll be able to see that decrease and increase as the eclipse passes over. We'll also, we have radars that see the motion of that ionized gas, optical sensors that see the atmospheric winds associated with those motions, as well as magnetometers down here on the ground. Very fancy, very precise 3D compasses that will be able to see electric currents in the upper atmosphere associated with the eclipse.
Incredible. Thank you, Mike. Nikki?
Yeah, and so in the corona, we're going to be able to watch some of that energy being deposited in the corona from the magnetic field. We're going to watch that temperature change as a response to that. Also, if there is a magnetic explosion, we might get to catch part of that magnetic explosion during the total eclipse.
I mean, it's just, I guess, pure luck that we're going to hopefully catch it, right?
A little
Or-
bit pure luck and a little bit not. I mean, we're at this total solar, we're at this solar maximum time period when there are a lot of explosions. For it to occur exactly in that 4 minutes, maybe, maybe not, but we might get to see part of it.
Very cool. And Nikki, I would be remiss if I didn't let you talk about the NASA Punch mission because you are the mission scientist. Could you give us a preview of that mission for us?
That's right. So because eclipses are rare, and because even when we have eclipses, sometimes it's cloudy outside, NASA likes to make eclipses artificially so that we can always watch the corona. And the Punch mission, which stands for Polarimeter to Unify the Corona and Heliosphere, is the latest and greatest of one of NASA's missions to look at the corona. It's going to launch next year, and it is going to make one of these artificial eclipses so we can watch the corona and watch that plasma, that material, come out into the solar system and watch it as it heads towards Earth.
And Nikki, we're all aware of the Parker Solar Probe, that big mission that's touching the sun. What is Punch going to add that Parker won't be able to bring to the table? With this mission?
So Parker's so cool because it flies and it's touching that outer part of the corona that we get to see hopefully during totality, but it's a very localized measurement. It's very specific and very important, but the global context of putting all of that information together is really important, and Punch is going to do that because Punch has this global view of everything that's happening. So we'll be able to have this super detailed measurement and then put it in the global context and understand how it all relates to one another.
Awesome. So again, incremental science ends up providing big results, just inch by inch, getting more information, filling in the holes.
Yeah, sometimes discoveries don't happen all at once. Sometimes discoveries happen because you put together 100 separate pieces that you didn't know all fit together, and you put them together in a new way.
And that's the great thing about being in communications, is that I get to be there at the end with a big splash. I feel like I get to cheat every single time. So that's why I joined communications. So thank you for your work. We do have time for a few social media questions. We did get one from Instagram from Coolins222. Will the eclipse make an impact on tidal patterns? Any takers?
In short, no. The tidal patterns are governed by the motion of the moon around the Earth, and so no, this really shouldn't have a large influence at all.
Great. And here's a little bit more technical question. Mm-hmm. Is there any magnetotelluric survey planned? If someone can explain what exactly that is, and then if there's a survey plan for it.
Magnetotellurics is understanding the electrical conductivity of the ground. And so, yes, the U.S. Geological Survey has been making a big magnetotelluric map of the United States, and they have covered most of the United States and going back even some places for a higher resolution. The ground conductivity should not change during the event, but these magnetometers that I just mentioned, the fancy compasses, should be able to measure space currents and the influence of that as seen as a magnetic perturbation on the ground, which is directly related to that ground conductivity.
And Mike, for the everyday person, what big science question is that helping us answer? A lot of these space weather missions and topics helping us answer, bring it home for the people watching.
Well, one of the things that our community is interested right now is the interrelation of different physical processes. And so, and for me in particular, that's the combination of physics from small scales to larger scales and back again, that nonlinear feedback across spatial and temporal scales. And I think the regional nature of an eclipse really allows us to have a natural experiment that we can study in depth, and since we know it's coming, we're well instrumented to see this and put together the pieces all the way from the sun, from the closest parts of the solar atmosphere down to the ground.
Yeah, because your area is space weather, Earth-Sun interactions, looking closer to the ionosphere. Nikki, you're looking closer at the corona, right, closer to the source, but all of it is really one big interrelated puzzle that we're trying to put together.
That's right. Yeah. So it's important as scientists that we study our individual pieces because it requires a massive skill set to understand that individual layer of the sun or layer of the ionosphere. But then we're here this week to put all the pieces together, how the sun influences the Earth, how this interconnectedness happens. So as the Solar Physics Division Chair, I'm so happy that we're here together to really make sure that the scientists are putting all of these pieces together.
Awesome. Speaking of putting pieces together, there's a question about the heliophysics decadal survey. It's a big year in that the forthcoming 2024-2033 decadal survey is coming out to provide guidance and priorities for science in the field. Any comment on our eclipse research and how that's answering the previous decadal that we're coming out of and launching us into this next decadal?
Yeah, I think, again, going back to that cross-scale coupling, that is a research topic of interest right now, and eclipses really allow us to focus our attention on the intercoupling between small-scale and large-scale phenomenon.
Very cool. Well, I think that is all the questions we have on social at the moment. Any other closing remarks?
We are just so excited to be here and to watch this natural phenomena.
And to be here this whole week and to have solar physicists talking with space environment around the Earth and other planets, putting together all of heliophysics in one place. I love coming to TESS.
I can't wait to see the meeting, which lasts through Friday, and to see the buzz there, future missions in the making, future partnerships. I think it's going to be really exciting and really valuable for the heliophysics community. Awesome. Thank you both.
Thanks for having us.
Great. So we just talked about the decadal study that is bringing us into the next 10 years of heliophysics. But where will we be the next 10 years without our future leaders and future scientists in the field, which is why I'm super excited to be talking to Fallon Konow. Konow, sorry about that.
Okay.
Who's a fourth-year PhD student at Georgia State University and University of Rome Sapienza.
Yes, I am in a dual program between the two institutions, and I'm very excited about that because I'm able to work with advisors from both and collaborate with researchers from both. And I think it's really important to increase the collaboration worldwide of science to further our discoveries.
Awesome. Must be neat having, 1 foot at a program in Europe, 1 foot in the US. Gives you a different perspective.
It's very interesting to see the similarities in the top science topics and also the differences for what different countries and different institutions view as the most important science to do.
Very cool. Well, speaking about science, what are your areas of interest as it concerns the eclipse, and what are you excited about?
I am excited about the eclipse in general, but my areas of research are not quite eclipse studyable. As I am here at TESS, I am a heliophysicist at heart, but I'm also an instrumentalist. I'm working on building a network of telescopes to study the sun and space weather. So although I will not be running my telescopes today, hopefully I'll be able to get multiple images of the sun throughout the next couple months and years from ground-based observatories studying space weather.
So you're saying that this study will commence when again? Is it coming up soon?
I have multiple telescopes that I'm working on since we're studying ground-based and the sun, day and night happens. We're trying to get 24 hours. So we have one in Rome, one in California, and our California telescope actually is up and running. It works, but we won't actually start a full data observation run probably till this summer. So that's what we're aiming for, is this summer to get some observations of the sun, and by the end of my PhD to make that data more public so everyone can use it.
So you're kind of hinting at the life cycle of these missions. You could basically contribute to science findings years in the future, right? Because scientists will end up using that data for a long term.
Yes, absolutely. Especially with space weather studies, it's very important to study long-term variations to be able to forecast and predict. And even though my project is, a bit smaller scale than things I think you talked about, like Punch, it's still very important to get data sources that are different so we can combine all these different observations to really get a full view of what space weather is.
Very cool. You're also a rep with the National Science Foundation's SHINE program. Do you want to talk a little bit about your involvement there?
Yeah, absolutely. So SHINE stands for Solar, Heliospheric, and Interplanetary Environment. It's a subset of the NSF that deals with those topics, and I specifically am the student representative for the SHINE workshop. It is a collaborative workshop that happens every year. We're actually in our 25th year of the workshop this year, and we'll be meeting in August in Juneau, Alaska. And just like TESS brings together heliophysicists and geophysicists, so too does SHINE. And it's a really exciting workshop because rather than just being talks and posters and you're listening to science and finding collaborations that way, it's very much an interactive discussion-based event. So that's what SHINE really aims to foster, is a discussion-based collaboration to further science.
And it's bringing together seasoned scientists with graduate students, everyone in between.
Yes, absolutely. One of the things I love most about SHINE is not influence, but its importance it places on student involvement. So the NSF funds the workshop, but also specifically funds about 100 students, fully covered registration flights and lodging to come to Shine, so that they can be, you know, like you were saying, the future of science, and really interact with all of these senior scientists so that they can decide as a grad student what they want to be in the field and how they want to impact it.
Well, speaking of being a grad student in the geosciences, any advice for undergraduates considering taking that next step and furthering their education in the field?
Absolutely. I'm always looking for advice, and I know as an undergrad I was as well. A short advice I will give, because I never listened to it, was to start your work early, start your apps early, start looking for schools early. But some real advice that I think is very important is when you are looking to go to grad school, looking to the next step, look at all aspects. Definitely follow what research excites you. But I found that it's not just research. You want to be in an environment that's supportive with people and an institution that is supporting your goals. So definitely take into consideration everything about the next step of your life.
That's very cool. And I think undergirding that is the need for continued government support for science. And I do want to say that AGU is a big vocal supporter of government funding for science. We have a very robust policy and government relations team at AGU. And they also have a lot of programs for scientists who are interested in advocacy or learning how to better communicate their science. So that is something that we really support here at AGU, and we support definitely the next generation of up and coming scientists. So
that's great to hear. We definitely need support from all fronts.
Yeah, we're behind you on that. Interestingly also is that you mentioned that you're a scientist, but also a technologist. And that's an interesting career path. I know some people that have gone both ways, and they have been engineers on missions, and then they have become PIs and other on the science side. What does that path look like for you right now?
It's definitely a path that I'm still looking into and trying to decide. When I applied to grad school, I was really just the science side. I did observation and data analytics, and it wasn't until I made my dissertation project that I embarked on this technology front. So as of right now, for me, it's a bit open, and it involves me going to conferences like TESS that's heliophysics based, or conferences that are instrument based, so I can explore as a grad student what those different avenues are and what I want my science career to be.
And I guess if you follow your passion, there's no way you're going to go wrong, right? You'll land in the right spot where you're meant to be, and things change. You can just shift as they come along. So.
Absolutely, yeah. I can definitely change. More technology, more science, just as the years go by.
Great. Any other lasting words for our audience before we are wrapping up and prepping for our eclipse observation?
I just hope everyone's as excited as I am to see this eclipse. This will actually be my second eclipse I see, hopefully, and I hope that everyone has as much excitement as us scientists do for this event, because for everybody, it's such a cool event.
So the last one was that 2017?
I did. I saw the 2017 one.
And where were you at?
I was in Southern Illinois. I drove down from Chicago to see the eclipse, and I got full totality for about 2 minutes. It was very exciting.
Gosh, awesome. Yeah. Great. Well, Fallon, thank you so much for your insights into the field, for sharing your perspectives as a graduate student, and for encouraging the next generation to step into the field.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this pre-eclipse broadcast. If you want to keep following AGU throughout the week, our social accounts will be covering the TESS meeting. There'll be a lot of fun plenaries, some interviews with leaders in heliophysics. So we encourage you to keep following our channels all the way till Friday. And for those of you interested in the big NASA live broadcast of the actual eclipse, feel free to go to nasa.gov and they will hook you up. So that is what we have from here today in Dallas, Texas at TESS. And we are ready to put on our approved eclipse viewing glasses and get going. Thank you. Thank you. Great. I wonder if you can see anything if you put them on. Yeah, you're completely blind.
Yeah, you block out all of the sun.
Yeah.
I mean, all the non-sun, so.
And you don't need this during totality. I have to be reminded
Correct,
of
yes.
that. Okay.
Because if you can't see anything through the glasses, take them off, because there's no blinding sunlight.
That's a good point. That's a good signal that